So if you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Justin, also known as Shit Just Works. For anybody returning, again, this will be the 5th installment and we will be doing Demacia today. But we do have some good news that literally just got released. I recorded this video right after the Riot Legends of Runeterra news release on Sunday, so I will get to that in just a second. But first, I got some news on what's going on with myself as well as a awesome partner of mine, Roughhouse Plays. I'm going to link to his Twitch channel in the description below. We are starting a podcast that's going to be out every Monday morning, technically Sunday night. You guys are going to have it for your ride to work in the morning. This week's episode, we talk about the top 10 freemium games and how much money they actually made. So definitely check that out. I'd love to hear your guys' thought on that as well. So a link to the podcast will be below, not the podcast, the YouTube channel. So it will be a podcast on all the podcast networks, but we have Game Wild is going to be the name of the YouTube channel as well as the podcast. So definitely check out the channel. But enough about the podcast. Let's get into this video. I am souped about the news, so we got that coming right up. As I promised, first and foremost, we have some news that just got released on Sunday from Riot, and that is the game will be accessible to all in beta form on January 24th. Anybody who is already in the beta will have 1 day of early access on the 23rd at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I am so excited for this game to finally be back on deck. We can start building some decks and get to play in this game. And with that said, let's get into the next region. So we got Demacia, and as always, we are starting with Aggro. And Demacia is going to be getting a 3 out of 6 for Aggro. That is mainly because their region is geared towards being a mid-range region. And we'll go over the mid-range category in a little bit. But Aggro-wise, they really just don't have that oomph to really threaten the opponent's Nexus life total within the first few turns. Yes, they have some strong units, like we got Chithria of Cloudfield here. Pretty strong one-drop. It's the only one-drop in the game, I think, with those stats. There is another ephemeral one. I think it's Shadow Fiend or something like that. That is a 4/3, if I remember correctly, but it's ephemeral. So this actually stays on the field, it sticks around, and is pretty good for a one-drop. Beyond that, aggro-wise, it kind of just turns into elites. The elite subclass here is mainly, again, geared at mid-range. There's a lot of buffs that this region has as well, but again, those buffs are played more towards the middle of the game, especially when you have something like Fiora. So aggro-wise, not the greatest. Their cards overall have decent stats, which is what's giving them the 3 out of 6, because they do have aggro capabilities once they get up and going a little bit. But again, Demacia is primarily based around mid-range. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, hold up. This game is coming out on the 24th. Why haven't you subscribed yet? Hit that sub button. Hit the sub button. You gotta gear up and get ready for Legends of Runeterra coming out. Finally, it's open to everybody. Get on that. And if you like this video, smash the like button. Next up, we have Control, and this is just plain and simple a 1 out of 6. Demacia is not a control region. So I'll bring up 3 cards. I dug deep for this. These are what I consider control-esque cards for Demacia. First up, we have Judgment. So Judgment, a battling ally strikes all battling enemies. That, depending on who you're using it with, is a huge swing card. Pretty much can be an AoE clear for their entire field, depending on, again, what follower or champion you're using it with. And we do also have Single Combat, which is very similar to Judgment, but it's just one ally and one singular enemy unit. So again, you can kind of pick somebody off. Similar to Vengeance. Vengeance just straight up kills it. Single Combat kind of relies on you having a larger unit, follower, champion, whatever on the field to actually pair this with. And we have Unguard, which is burst speed. Give allies Challenger this round. That is probably the most control card you're going to see in this class. It pairs with their mid-range capabilities quite well, and basically gives your entire field Challenger, so now you can completely control the next battle phase and kind of pick and choose who will be fighting who. Next up is Combo. So overall, I just want to explain something real quick first. Fiora. Fiora to me is not a combo-based card. She is simply a different win condition. So Fiora is less about combos and more about your deck synergizing with itself, right? All of the cards need to synergize with the same strategy, which is get Fiora to kill multiple units to win the game. Combos are more about how individual cards interact with 1, 2, 3, 4 other cards specifically in your deck, and specifically trying to get to that combo in the first place, whether it be drawing through your deck or tutoring things from your deck onto the field, whatever it may be. Demacia just does not scream combo, so they're getting a 1 out of 6. Now, with that said, the cards I'm going to mention are technically a combo with Fiora, just because they work well with her win condition, but again, that is why this is ranked so low. Basically, you have Barrier, Prismatic Barrier, give an ally Barrier, and you have Riposte, which... Riposte, that's it. I don't know if I said that right. Give an ally +3/+0 and Barrier. That's pretty much a guaranteed unit kill for Fiora, assuming they don't remove Fiora from the field. So those cards themselves kind of interact perfectly with Fiora. They make for a one-time combo to get her one step closer to her win condition. But again, overall, there's not really much to be had in the realm of combos with this region. It is mainly stat boost stuff. Fiora, again, for a different win condition, and just chunky, large units. Now, with that said, we got mid-range next, and mid-range is where they shine. Mid-range, they're getting the 6 out of 6. All of the units that they have are pretty chunky, beefy units. A lot of them, for 3 cost, you're going to get 3/3. For 4 cost, you're going to get good stats. Grant an ally +2. So, Laurent Bladekeeper right here, perfect example. You're getting a 4/5 essentially for 4 costs, which is very good stats. Additionally, you have the Elite subclass. So this card in and of itself is a great mid-range card. It not only replaces itself with a card in your hand, but that card in your hand is great for mid-range. So all of these elites really build up their mid-range strategy, as well as the champions. Fiora, again, different win condition, but it's primarily based around the mid-game. Lucian works wonders with something like Senna. Again, they are primarily mid-game champions. Now, Lucian is definitely, it's a 2-drop. It is definitely an early game thing, but again, they play towards the mid-game. They're not playing to rush your face in the first, 3, 4 turns. They're trying to play for the 4th or 5th turn, where they have the field presence and the utilities and tools in their hand to be able to have a battle phase that essentially goes in their favor and turns the tides of the game. All right, so we're going to shift to spells. And these spells for Demacia are lackluster at best. We're giving them a 2 out of 6. Their burst spells are actually going to get a higher rating. So what we're doing here is taking into consideration all their spells as a whole. They're not that great when you take into consideration everybody else's spells as a whole. When you compare it to something like Shadow Isles or Freljord or Ionia or really most other classes, they're not that great. A lot of them are buffs. There are some good ones. Really, the only thing that screams that it is excellent for me in this class is Relentless Pursuit, Ready Your Attack. To me, anything that changes the rules of the game, essentially, so it's giving you an additional attack phase, is great. So Relentless Pursuit, I see becoming insanely good as this game matures, as more sets come out. Other than that, everything's pretty much just okay. I will say, a couple shout outs here. There's 3 unique things. It's funny, their spells aren't that great, but their region has 3 unique things with their spells. First one, Detain. This is one of the only capture cards in the game. If you're not familiar with capture, as it says right here, a captured card is removed from the game. It returns when the capturing unit leaves play. So essentially, you pick a follower, that follower captures another enemy unit, and when your follower gets removed from the field, etc., the other guy comes back, or girl. So that is definitely a unique card. In addition to that, they have multiple spells here in Succession, Remembrance, and Reinforcements that summon units. Now, Piltover and Zaun has a couple of these, but I believe Demacia has the most of any class. Piltover and Zaun would be the next, and I'm pretty sure most of the other classes, I think Shadow Isles might have one. Most of the other classes do not have this unique ability. And we'll get into, we'll segue very nicely here into Burst, Purify. So, for their burst spells, they're going to be getting a 4 out of 6. They're nothing incredible, okay? They are definitely on the better side of burst spells, and I will explain why. First and foremost is Purify. So again, this is a very original effect. There, if I'm not mistaken, are no other cards in the game right now that remove all text and keywords from a follower. I do think this would be much better if it was also champions, but it is what it is. For 2 cost and burst speed, that can seriously mess up your opponent's plans, especially during the middle of an attack phase or a combat. Additionally, you have Prismatic Barrier and Riposte. And the reason why these are so good is because, again, this class is a very unique champion in Fiora. Completely different win condition. I love OTKs, combos, you know, different ways to play the game other than just summon things, attack back and forth, person's Nexus gets to 0. Teemo, another cool, interesting way to win. Fiora, same deal. So things like Prismatic Barrier and Riposte, still don't know if I'm saying that right, are great. They support her perfectly, enable Fiora to get those kills to actually advance towards her win condition. And honestly, they're both burst, which makes them incredible. What I will say is they really are getting this 4 out of 6 because of the Purify. If Purify wasn't in there as such a unique card, they probably would have gotten a 3 out of 6 when comparing all the other classes. But Purify is really something unique that I think is underrated and will be used much, much more in the future. And again, I think Prismatic Barrier and Riposte are incredible cards that enable a very unique deck type to succeed. All right, next up we have Champions. And honestly, I'm not crazy. Like, I love Fiora, okay, but I'm not really crazy about anything else in Demacia other than Fiora. And Fiora is really only cool just because, again, it's a unique win condition. Lux, not the greatest. It's very hard to build a deck around her and her capabilities right now. Final Spark is decent to say the least. Seems good. 0 with Overwhelm, 4 damage to an enemy unit, so it does go face as well if you overkill them. But to actually just use all those spells and get, you know, the fleeting Final Sparks in your hand, it's like, well, then what? All right, well, now I have these damage things, but, like, how do I keep Lux safe? And even if I keep Lux safe, what's my actual win condition? You can't possibly do enough overkill damage with the fleeting Final Sparks to actually kill your opponent's Nexus. And in order to get those, you have to support the deck right now with something like Karma. It doesn't seem great. So really just not the greatest champion right now. Garen, to me, is all right, but he's vanilla. He's kind of vanilla feeling, right? He is great in an elite deck. He is an elite, obviously, so he's great for a mid-range type strategy. And I do love his leveled up effect of readying your attack. So again, anything in my eyes that changes the rules of the game is pretty good, pretty unique. So he's all right. Fiora and Lucian, to me, are where this class shines the most. Fiora, self-explanatory. We've mentioned her multiple times. Lucian's card design and just the concept of it, to me, is so good. This is one of those cards in this game where it matches with the lore of League of Legends, gives you that nostalgia of League of Legends, and at the same time, gives you the same exact feel of that lore. When Lucian and Senna are on the field, and I can attest to this, playing against Lucian and Senna, it feels like Lucian and Senna are on the field. It feels like you cannot let that happen or you're shit out of luck. You're not going to have a great game. And that, to me, is great. I think that having that feeling when these two cards are on the field really kind of just shows how much time was actually put into the card design in this game. So they're getting a 4 out of 6. Next up, we have the followers, and they're getting a 5 out of 6. The only reason they're not getting a 6 out of 6 is because there's really no power cards. And we'll get into the power cards right after we go over the followers. But, you know, just right away, if you go to the high cost cards, typically the high cost cards are going to have the stronger effects. These effects don't scream amazing. So that's it right there, right? Now, if you start to look at some of the middle range cost cards or even the lower cost cards to see if anything that's really, really strong, nothing pops out. But what I will say, everything seems good. Almost every follower in this class is playable. Whether it be in another deck, whether it be in an elite deck, whether it be in a Lucian Senna deck, everything here is playable and I think has a purpose. There's really nothing that I see not ever getting played, with the exception of maybe Plucky Poro and Border Lookout, right? And even Border Lookout might have a place. It's got 4 health as a 2-drop. So for that reason, they're going to get the 5 out of 6. I do think that Tiana Crown Guard and Brightsteel Formation could be much better in the future depending on what cards get released. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out for. And last but not least, we're going with the power cards, which we already mentioned a few. We're giving a 3 out of 6 for this because they're not that great. They are the power cards, but when you look at some other classes that get the 4, the 5, and the 6 in this category, they don't really come close to matching up with them. And that's why the classes or the regions that we put in 1, 2, and 3, that's why they're down there. There seems to be a very strong divide from the bottom 3 and the top 3 as far as power cards are concerned. So first up, we got Judgment. which we went over earlier. And Judgment, again, very, very good. Can be basically an AoE clear when paired with the right champion. Also have Riposte. Still, for the 4th time, don't know if I'm saying that right. Give an ally +3/+0 in barrier. This is good standalone, but because it pairs so well with Fiora, and that's really, again, that's actually another power card that I'm going to mention in this class is Fiora. So the fact that 2 power cards combo together is kind of what gives them the 3 as opposed to a 2 or a 1. These work great. They are meant to be together. And finally, we have for Demacia, which, again, is an awesome card. You know, it's +3/+3 in 1 round is definitely a huge shift in momentum for that 1 round. So it is a power card. It is at slow speed. So there's a lot of things that the opponent can do to counter it. You know, you're +3/+3. Well, now they can play Burst Spell, you know, Take Heart or whatever else that can kind of mess with your plans. So that's putting, I believe, Demacia in 3rd place right now. We still have Freljord taking up spot number 1 and Ionia with 2. We have 1 more region to go, and that's going to be Shadow Isles. I am excited to get this all wrapped up, get all 6 cemented in, and it looks like it's going to be right before the game releases. Again, like I mentioned in the beginning, definitely check out our podcast. It will be in the description below. I'm also going to link to Roughhouse Plays Twitch in the description below. That will be my podcasting partner. And guys, seriously, in the comments below, let me know what you think about the video. Let me know what other ideas you have for content. I mean, if there's something that you want me to do, put it in the comments below. I'm excited to hear your guys' thoughts. You know, I'm getting towards the end of these reviews here. I have a lot of ideas in my head of what I want to do, but I want to make sure I'm doing what you guys want to do. First and foremost, I want to make sure the content that I am putting out is perfecto. So definitely let me know what you guys want in the comments. But that's going to be it for this video. So until next time, stay positive. Peace out. Can be basically an AoE clear. On January 21st,